Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us tonight as we celebrate Native American Heritage Month with the California Democratic Party Native American Caucus. My name is Diana Love, and I am proud to serve as the interim secretary to the California Democratic Party. We have some amazing Native American women here tonight that will be discussing issues that affect the Native community. I have the honor of introducing two incredible women who will be moderating our event tonight. Mary Ann Andreas has served more than 3 decades on the Tribal Council for the Marengo Band of Mission Indians, including several terms as the chair and as vice chair. She is also the chair of the California Democratic Party Native American Caucus. Emma Harper grew up in Siskiyou County with the Karuk and Sanas tribe from the Klamath River and Quartz Valley land and serves as the operations director to the California Democratic Party. Please join me in welcoming Mary Ann Andrews and Emma Harper. And it was the Shasta tribe.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. Are you there, Emma?
I'm here.
I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight as we celebrate the Native American Heritage Month with the California Democratic Party. I'm so excited to introduce to you tonight a very, very special person, Cranell Alfred. She is a member of the Navajo Nation and is currently serving as Native American Coalitions Director at the Democratic National Committee. Cranell is a Navajo of the Bitter Water Clan and was born for the Near the Water Clan. She holds a BA in Political and International Affairs Fellowship to attend Princeton University Junior Summer Institute. She was a student in the Native American Political Leadership Program at the George Washington University, where she returned to develop the Inspire Pre-College program for Native high schoolers. Students, she volunteered as at the 2 most recent conventions. She has worked for the Navajo Nation, the National Congress of American Indians, the National Indian Health Board, the Office of Public Affairs for Indian Affairs, and most recently as a tribal liaison for the Universal Service Administration. Emma?
Thank you, Mary Ann. So what an honor it is to have these guests tonight. And so I have the pleasure of introducing Cody Yeager. She's an enrolled member of the Quechan National Fort Yuma and a descendant of the Bishop Paiute tribe. In this last cycle, she ran a tough race as a candidate for Inyo County's 3rd District Supervisor. Cody Yeager currently serves as the Chief Operations Officer of the Bishop Paiute tribe. So, Mary Ann, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions. Actually, Cranell, very nice to meet you. Great to have you. I had a question for you. So now that the Democratic Party has the honor of having you, Cranell, a Navajo Native woman serving as the Native Coalition Director of the Democratic National Committee, I was curious how you grew up and when you realized that you had a connection with the Democratic Party. What was the turning point in your life, education, or advocacy work that began your journey to be a voice for Indian country within the Democratic Party? Sort of 2-part question.
All right, how long do you have? First of all, Yata Shea Krina Alfredi Initiate, Todajitni Nishla, Tohana Bashchi, Batati Dashache, Todajitni Dashanale. I'm Cranell Alfred, and I want to thank the leadership for inviting me to be here today. It's such an honor to speak with everyone on the panel and in the audience. Thank you, Kahat. So that is actually a really loaded question, only because it has a lot to do with I guess my experience as a young child. First of all, I'm from the Navajo Reservation, but what people kind of don't realize is I also grew up in Oakland, California. So my parents split when I was a child, and my mom went out seeking for work as a single parent, and we ended up in California. And I think at a very young age, I realized that it just was not fair, that I had to be pulled away from my family. And so that was really the first seed of activism that was planted, was just this unfairness. There wasn't enough economic stability back at home to support our small family. So, but I think it really landed home for me probably during the Republican welfare reform in the 90s. As a young child, again, still hearing this debate in school and among friends and family about how the Republicans were talking about taking away our welfare. And that was something, a subsistence that was really supporting our family. And so that really kind of enraged me as a young child. At the same time, I also just kind of stepping back, there's like the 1992 convention. And my mom had a friend who had the TV on just in the background. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. And I remember watching one of the parties, and they had made their nomination, and the celebration that had happened. Everyone had come together, and there was a unity there that really kind of sang to me, because, you know, just kind of growing up and like hearing the divisive political rhetoric, that was just a moment where I felt like I belonged. And so those two together kind of brought me to the Democratic Party. And I made a very loud declaration to my father, who doesn't see the world at many times in the same view that I do, that I was a Democrat. And I must have been about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. And so that far back is, you know, the party's values resonated with me. And a lot of it was just because I was a child. I grew up in Oakland, California, where there is a strong activism among the Native community, where there's, you know, the American Indian movement still kind of alive up there. You have a very strong urban Indian community that is very much into bringing together intertribal identities and bringing together a strength to move things forward for the community, whether it's healthcare, education. And so those are really kind of the pivotal moments and values that carried me to the Democratic Party.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that insight. Marianne, I know you had a question.
I do. I have a question for Cody. I know that you recently ran for Board of Supervisors in the 3rd District of Inyo County. And I was just wondering if you have found a way to address the disconnect in the community. I know by electing Native American men and women is one way to elevate and amplify solutions to problems that we all face. Even though we're Native Americans, we all breathe the same polluted air. We drink water. We travel on transportation on potholed roads. You know, whatever the larger community faces. What would you like to accomplish as you continue your journey through public service?
You know, one of the things that I can say regarding this race, I should first start at the beginning about why I ran, because it is literally because of the disconnects that I experience every single day, and I know that our community experiences every single day. You know, there was a group that came to our little small town. So I'm in Bishop, California. Inyo County's in California. The big county, but the Bishop Paiute Reservation is landlocked, very small. We were owned on the outside by DWP, another issue. So one of the reasons why I ran, though, was because an individual announced their candidacy in a forum. They were brought in by a church, and this group came in and talked about, I call it division speech, talked about minorities, gay people, all the things that separate us instead of trying to unite us. And that kind of rhetoric always comes with other types of rhetoric and actions that don't necessarily support minorities. And after that meeting, it was all over Facebook and the small community I'm in, and people were saying somebody needs to run, because at that forum, at that moment, one person threw their candidacy in and said, I am running for District 3 Board of Supervisors. And that infuriated everybody all of a sudden, because District 3 happens to be over the entire Bishop Paiute Reservation, where I currently live and reside. And so to have somebody that already has that mindset, already has those thoughts, because remember, with those types of thoughts comes actions.
Yes.
So this obviously was not somebody that was going to be friendly towards our communities, or even have one idea of what we're experiencing right now. So there's everybody go, who should run? Who should run? Somebody needs to run. Nobody, silence, crickets. And I seriously was thinking, why not me? I should run. And so I was thinking about it, flopping back and forth, and I swear it's, I got this text message email from Contest Every Race. I get a lot of those, and I usually just scroll through, but it was the timing, and I just happened to look down, it says, thinking about running. Join us at a virtual meeting. And I did. I joined a virtual meeting for Contest Every Race, met Betty Yee and like hundreds of other people that were literally thinking on that fence. Do I dare jump into this abyss? Because that's what it is. It's darkness. I have no path. I would be the first Native American woman, which is always a scary thing. That means there was no path before. But that inspired me. That inspired me to run, because I realized I'm not the only one. Why not
That's
me?
right. Yes.
Very next day, I went down to Inyo County Registrar's office. I said, I want to run. What do I need to do? And they were so supportive. They told me, here you go, gave me the Lewis signatures. I Googled a lot. What's some Lewis signatures? So I started literally step one. But that was that first step, because I saw somebody somewhere was going to try to exert themselves over our community without understanding, asking, or meeting with us. They would not be it. And they could not go uncontested, I guess. I mean, that really did spark it too. Don't make it easy. And if that's one thing I can let everybody know out there, do not make it easy for other people to take our power.
That's right.
We have these opportunities right now before us. We could have been running anytime, but we never did. There's 5 tribes in the Owens Valley, 5 districts. I'm hoping that this will spark that initiative for people. Run. Just run, 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 run. You have nothing to lose except your power. So if that's one thing I could say where the disconnect is this process is so foreign to some of our tribal members, to where when I first started campaigning, talk about disconnect, some of the tribal members would tell me, oh, that's great, Cody, but I can't vote because I live on the reservation, and reservation's federal, not county.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Even though I can vote. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then you have also, oh yeah, I'm registered, I could vote. I voted in the last tribal election. Then they find out, just because you vote in our tribal elections doesn't mean you can vote. So registering individuals, the education of what it means to have somebody in those positions is key to getting people to understand.
Yes.
And then relating those to what influence would I have? My big thing is law enforcement. A lot of people don't know, when you live on a reservation, you don't. We have City of Bishop less than like a mile up the road, but we don't get the privilege of their police officers. We rely on sheriff, county sheriff, hoping, and they're great. They're great, some depending on the officers, but I'm all about training, and I support law enforcement because I support training of law enforcement. I want to see town halls with the community. I want to see more interaction. I want to see actual community policing. So that's all we have in law enforcement is our Inyo County Sheriff. So those were the issues that I was really trying to identify and bring, and also the environment. There's so many relatable issues, but the barrier definitely was not having a clear path, the building that education to the community about why this is important. And here I am now. I did make it through the primary. I'm in the general. And we'll know next week. It's very tight, it's pretty close. If I don't get it, I keep saying to everyone, this is an absolute success, because I have never seen in all these years, we have never seen the word support our tribal nations on our local papers. You never heard so many people talk about supporting the tribal nations and looking now at the tribes as a source of power, a resource. And they never campaigned to us before because we weren't interested or didn't vote, whatever their reasons. But now I keep telling people we are now a contender and getting a seat at these tables. And this is how it started, with this awareness. So I do feel like no matter the outcome of this election, something definitely has begun.
Well, I would say to you, even if you lose, do not give up. You now have name recognition. You
Mhm.
now know more about the process of turning out votes, about educating people when to register, when's the last day to register, when
Yeah.
those ballots start dropping, all of that, it needs to be taught to our people on the reservation. And so I think you'll get an invaluable lesson either way.
Yes,
And
thank
pass
you.
it on, inspire everyone else. I ran in 2004. I won the primary and lost the general, but I inspired a successful run by Assemblyman James Ramos.
Oh,
He
wow.
said he saw me, he helped me financially and campaigned and learned a lot, and he ran and he was successful. So, it just, we stand on each other's shoulders. We help each other out, and I think I'm very proud of you, for having the courage to do this.
Thank
Be
you.
the first one. There's always someone has to be the first one. So do not give up. You now have name recognition and you now have learned a lot of lessons.
Well, absolutely. The biggest lesson I learned is the organization of power.
Yes.
I see the other non-native communities have it and we don't. That this is definitely the beginning of something. I can tell you that. So,
And the Democratic Party has a lot of programs that teach young candidates. What would be one? Emerge. There would be just a lot of programs that the California Democratic Party has to help candidates learn how to do better.
Yep.
good.
So that brings me, so I wanted to ask, empowering all this discussion around not giving up and keeping our communities flourishing ahead. I wanted to see, Craynell, I'm going to kick it over to you. So I saw an interview on Next Gen Native podcast, and I learned that your approach to advocacy seemed to understand that we must not only educate Indian country on where our issues stand, but also educate others outside the Native community about Indian country. So I wanted to know what you thought folks need to know about how others can support Native communities to flourish. And what is something that we all need to learn when building alliances so we can learn from each other and support each other in a better way?
For me, I think my touchstone is listening. A lot of people always comment about how quiet I am as an individual or as a professional, but a lot of times I'm listening to the other side. I'm getting their perspective. I know as a Navajo woman, and especially one that has grown up in the city, I carry a very specific type of perspective. And I carry that with me whenever I go to, advocate on behalf of Indian country. But I also have to be hyper aware of my own biases, that, when I do present a position, that not all of Indian country may agree with me, and that their voices also need to be represented. So one of the big things for our allies that I recommend is for them to just sit down and listen to different communities, because each one will have a different experience. Each one will have a different culture, different perspective. Mm-hmm. But, they're all, one thing that unifies us is resilience. We do have a shared history through boarding schools that bind us together. And, some of these traumas that were inflicted by the United States government are still very real to us. And so being able to just sit down and listen and get some perspective, that is my number one recommendation to our allies. I would say maybe another tip that I have is it can be difficult to work in Indian country because of the different perspectives and trying to find common ground. But don't give up. Half the battle is just sitting down and gaining the trust from the people who you're speaking with. and respecting that there is a lot of history there that you may not understand. But, you know, at the end of the day, our tribal communities will respect you and appreciate the time that you spent with us to talk about it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, getting Native communities to want to participate, to believe in the power of your vote and the power of being at the table and having a voice is so vital. It's so important to us. I know that you have a wonderful background, Inspire. I mean, that is such a wonderful program. You know, we often say in California, because we're small tribes, that we should go and work in Arizona and register every Navajo we can, because if every Indian in Arizona registered, you could have a Navajo governor. You could have a Native American governor there. The numbers are like that. They're not like that in California. We have small tribes. But getting even, you know, during Prop 5 in California, Prop 1, 2, we really worked hard to register our people, and they became hyper aware of the importance of turning out, just like we had Prop 26 and 27 on this ballot. You know, once again, we get out there and we educate our people. We go to the state legislature. What we do, what we call Sovereignty 101, because the legislature is constantly turning over because there's changes all the time. We're here on the floor educating new legislators about what tribal sovereignty is and the importance of it. It's the bedrock of our communities. And so I think, you know, I really look forward to your generation to keep that moving forward. Both of you ladies, I just hope that you do continue. Like I told Cody, do not give up. Keep working as hard as you can. Inspire everyone. Pull people behind you. Pull people up behind you, and we will get there. We will succeed.
So I have a question too. I mean, over, you know, many decades, the Democratic Party has made effort to bring more Native American voices to the decision-making table. And we've succeeded in our efforts to rise to power within the party. However, with most of our issues, there's a lot more work to be done. So while our party itself is generally aware of being supportive of Native issues, the public is not. So I wanted to ask either Cody or Cranell, what support have you seen offered by the Democratic Party? And what are other things or more things that can be done to support candidates or Native people running?
I can say that, you know, one, I got the benefit in the earliest part of the support from the Democratic Party just by going on that contest every race inspired me to start right from the beginning to run. But if I can give some recommendations, it would have been helpful if there was a way or a link for as I'm canvassing or talking to our tribal members or communities, when they ask, well, how will you in this position affect my life? You know, to be able to have like an idea if people knew the structures of their local communities and how they're all connected. Some people never even heard of the Board of Supervisors or understand the power that they wield, 5 individuals running this whole county. And in talking and having those conversations, I just wish there was a way I could have directed them, like, this is the power structure surrounding your daily life. I think that's a good thing to start at, is the power of the positions that we're running for and how it relates to all our individuals. We can communicate that, you know, as we're canvassing and campaigning. But if they already knew, I feel like the non-Native communities know exactly what it means when the people are sitting in those seats, not necessarily the Native communities. And we're literally half a mile away from the nearest town. So there is definitely that disconnect. I think it would be helpful though to have something like that. The Democratic Party definitely helped me with connecting me to individuals that knew these processes. PDI, which I had never heard of before, was valuable in canvassing. There's so much language that I learned that I never knew before. And it's a great support system internally. I think in Indian country, and I'd be curious to know if this is happening in the other communities, is they support, you know, right when I was running, everybody's excited, even though a lot of them, I appreciate it, didn't really understand whatever it is you're doing, Cody, you got my support, not knowing I really need the support in the way of are you registered? Are you going to show up at that poll?
Right.
Because they could put out my signs, they can support me, but are they going to really do those check to see if they're registered and to show up at the poll? But I think there's definitely that disconnect with, we call it Isha here. It means shy, like coyote.
Mhm.
My peeps, I had no idea when I didn't, you know, I was like Googling tutorials, canvassing. It says one thing you got to do is canvas, build your canvassing team. And so I'm like gathering my friends, hey, let's go canvas. What do we do? Well, we're just going to go knock on. No, I could not. It was difficult to get my community to go and knock, like just knock on one. So I don't know how it is in other communities, but there's like an invisible barrier between the reservation and town.
Right.
Hey, there's jobs. Oh, I need a job. Well, there's 15 places in town. Town, by the way, half a mile up the road. Oh yeah, but it's in town. As if town's 200 miles away. No. So, you know, I think the time I call it demystifying on both sides needs to happen.
Yes.
My grandma knew this. So I was raised by my grandma, and she was very political here on the reservation. She used to do what are called scandal letters here on the reservation. And I remember hanging outside the window, putting little things inside people's mailboxes. But she's very political. And I kind of grew up with that. And my grandma always told me, you know, don't put your head down. And she actually used the phrase, don't act Indian when you're talking with people. Because I didn't know what that meant now, but now I do.
Yes.
She said, you hold your head up high and you look them in the eye. You make sure they know you're there. And because a lot of people they're just shy, they stay in the background and they feel more comfortable in the background. I've never noticed that more until I tried to get a team together to go canvas for me or nope. In the non-native areas, absolutely not. They you know, there's definitely a reluctance, I guess, that needs to be.
Are you connected at all with the Central Committee? Every county in California has a Democratic Central Committee.
Yep.
Are you connected with your Central Committee? Because you can get canvassers who are not native to help you. They don't have to be from the reservation.
Yeah,
they're more. Yeah.
Yeah, they helped me. Non-native canvassers compiled, you know, grouped with Tim Roberts, Kermit Jones. So they went out and they included me in that canvassing on the non-native areas, because it would have been too difficult, I think, for them to. So on the reservation, you know, we have dogs. There's really no fences. Some people might get irritated if you knocked on their door, woke up their grandma. So canvassing on the reservation definitely needs a different strategy than what was used in the non-native areas. And they absolutely helped me with the non-native areas, for sure. That was
stay in touch with your Central Committee. Keep working with them. Keep building relationships. It's all about relationships.
Yes,
it's all about, that's how you will learn, and they will help you. They will help you learn how the process of campaigning from top to bottom, you know, and they have lists of voters in your county that you can access to contact, but work with them, stay with them, and try to get your friends to join too. That's how you knock down that wall of fear.
Absolutely, just to demystify it on both ends. And then I just wanted to say, following up on the seat at the table, I heard a great quote on TikTok, and this woman was talking about running, and she said, one thing I know is that if you don't have a seat at that table, then you're on the menu.
That's right.
That's exact. I love that quote, because I tell it to people. I go, we need a seat up there. So I tell them, if we're not on there, then we're on the menu.
Yes.
So
I agree 100%.
I wanted to extend that same question to you, as you know, what you see through the DNC and the National Committee.
Oh yeah. I mean, first I want to say that, you know, the first talking point here is my jam, civic education. And it's both sides. because, tribal society, our government, the way we interact with other government is so complex. And, I remember there's a quote I'm thinking of, but I can't recall, but it's like you have to learn two governments. You have to learn the American government, you have to learn your tribal government, and you have to figure out how to navigate both. And with the DNC, I think that there is this whole opportunity to try to figure out a curriculum that can explain both, just at a high level. And, I'm still fairly new. I just went through my first partial election cycle. I came on in June, so hit the ground running. But in that time, I've definitely seen people, as I come to them with recommendations, hear it with an open heart. And that's what I really love about the party, is that there's this idea of inclusion and people live by it. And so that's just kind of been my experience so far. And I love all the ideas that Cody has shared, because I'm sitting here jotting them down, because
Yeah, it's recorded. You can access it later.
Great. And because there's a lot of things that resonate. I just came back from a deployment in Arizona, and where we were canvassing and door knocking and fighting the Red Dogs, kidding about the fighting, and coming up with ways to kind of address those unique scenarios that are unique to Indian country, because Red Dogs are real. Sometimes they're very vicious, and they're a barrier between us and talking with a voter. And
that's their purpose.
Yes. And so, I bought biscuits, and next thing I knew, I had a whole pack of Red Dogs following me through neighborhoods, but, maybe just making those simple recommendations to teams, could be a great value in breaking down that fear of going door knocking. The other experience that I had is, having grandmothers open the door, and there's that language barrier. I can introduce myself in Navajo, but I'm not fluent. I can understand, a lot of it, but I can't communicate it back. And so how do we develop teams to pair up to get over that potential scenario? Because, you can bring in those non-native teams into our communities, but if, the language is still used in everyday life, and you're going to have those scenarios, how do you bow out of that situation respectfully, instead of just looking at this potential voter and saying, I'm sorry, we don't connect, and that's the lasting impression that you leave with them. And so I think these are things that are recommendations coming down the pipeline, and figuring out how to address these situations. I think my team that I work with at the DNC, and just across Democrats, and talking with the various parties, they're open to it. And so that's the one thing I appreciate about being and working with the Democrats.
Food always works too. You can get people to come to you if you offer food.
Yes.
Yes, free food for my meet and greets. They all came.
Yes.
Yeah, campaigning 101, free food.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, I think we're coming to the end, but I wanted to open it up to Marianne, to Cody, to Craynell. Just any last words, any last wise words from you women on building coalitions, or continuing to forage our collective goals and bringing each other up. I just want to give you the floor to kind of give us some last words as we celebrate this Native Heritage Month, all of us. So
I would like to encourage the ladies to join the Native American Caucus and invite them to our caucus meeting Friday at 5 o'clock. You're welcome to join. We're looking for members all the time, especially smart, young, active members. I mean, I work full-time, another job, and do this on the side, and do a lot of traveling. We just came from the Supreme Court. So yeah, we would be honored to have both of you join us at the Native American Caucus.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I will absolutely check that out. I would love to be a part of that.
Thank you.
I just want to end with just saying that I think the time has come to I guess, reshare the struggles that our grandparents went through to give us these rights to vote. Even just as women, we fought so hard for not only the land that we're living on, the houses that we have, the clean water we're pulling out of our faucets. I mean, everything was a fight that our great grandparents and our grandparents did. I think we have to reshare those stories again, because now I feel like it's just being taken for granted.
Excellent.
And then that we just lost our grasp of power. My grandma would be rolling over if she knew that people were not, they have this right to go vote, the power that they have in their hands that they are not taking. They're just walking by it. I don't know, or they don't see it. But resharing how much we fought, how much our grandparents and great grandparents fought for this right to vote, and take a stand, take a chance. You know, one of my best quotes I ever hear, and I always have it on my computer every job I take, is, you know, nothing dared, nothing gained.
There you go. Says it all.
That's it.
You're a warrior.
Thank you.
Cranell?
Oh, I think Cranell froze
Okay.
for a minute. I did want to let you know, Katie, and
And
sorry,
I would
you
also
froze
be-
for a minute.
oh no, okay, well, thank
Sorry.
you to very powerful women for sharing their stories. But I would also be remiss as a coalition builder if I did not share my email address. I am very accessible. My email address is alfredk@dnc.org. That's alfredk@dnc.org. And I also want to encourage you to sign up for our listserv, the DNC Native Coalition's email listserv. We do announcements, we hold meetings. Please do join. We love to hear your insight. We're very interactive. And then also want to encourage you to get on Twitter and follow @DNC Natives with an S to figure out what our caucus is doing. So those are some of our mediums for getting in touch with us and making sure you're following what we're doing. And just real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat. Sorry, I can't talk and do at the same time. It's not one of my great talents. Here we go. Sign up for our listserv. Thank you. Kihet.
And I did want to mention, India and I both put the Native American Caucus meeting in the chat for you, Jody and Cranell, to join. It is at 5 p.m. What day is that? Friday, starting at 5 p.m. So hopefully you can join that too.
Yes.
All right. Okay, well, I think, thank you. First, thank you very much, Marianne, for your leadership and for being my co-host here tonight. And thank you.
Always a pleasure, Emma.
Thank you also to Secretary Diana Love for kicking us off tonight, and to our incredible panelists, Cranell Alfred, Native Coalition Director at the DNC, and Cody Yeager, candidate for supervisor and chief operations officer of the Bishop Paiute tribe, for all of your incredible work, leadership, and of course, for giving us your time here tonight. Marianne, you have any last words?
No, I think you said it all. You covered it very well. We look forward to see everybody at the Native American Caucus Friday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and I do want to just,
everybody.
yeah, and I want to give a shout out to our sign language interpreters and our closed captioners for helping make this event accessible. And I did also want to remind everybody, we have another CADEM Celebrates event on Saturday, marking the Transgender Day of Remembrance. And so you can RSVP for that important event. I think India is going to share a link in the chat. So thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your knowledge and sharing all of the things that you do for all of us. So have a wonderful night.
See you all soon.